Nagoya, Japan. Under the dazzling stage lights of the SKE-48 theater, a young girl with a sun-drenched smile dances amidst the cheers of thousands of fans. Momoko Kito. That was the name the entire J-pop idol world once pinned its hopes on. A symbol of purity, a sweet dream of youth that any girl would long to reach. But then, in just one night, that dream shattered into 1,000 pieces. A leaked photo, a romance scandal, and immediately, Japan's harsh entertainment machine operated to crush her. Insults flooded social media, contracts were canceled in the blink of an eye, and those who once called her an angel turned their backs. At the age of 20, Momoko found herself standing at the edge of the abyss of humiliation, a place where an idol's career usually ends forever. However, this is not a story about falling down. Cut scene. A few months later, a new name appeared, sending shockwaves across the entire land of the rising sun, spreading to South Korea, and reaching a global scale. Yua Mikami. She did not return to apologize. She did not return to beg for forgiveness. She returned to challenge everyone. Instead of running away from the scandal, she turned it into an unimaginable springboard. She entered the adult film industry not as a defeated person in need of money, but as a queen reclaiming her lost crown. The transformation from a pure idol to an A-list adult film star was not just a career change, it was a revolution of power and autonomy. Why would a girl who had tasted the glory of the mainstream stage accept a plunge into a place so full of prejudice? Was it a bitter revenge against those who tried to bury her? Or was it the genius business vision of a woman who understood her own value? Welcome to the JAV Archive. Today, we will decode one of the most powerful empires in modern entertainment history. The story of a woman who turned humiliation into dominance, judgment into wealth, and made the name Yua Mikami a legacy that can never be forgotten. June 2015. All of Japan seemed to hold its breath. When Yua Mikami's first trailer was released, it wasn't just an event for the adult industry, it was a cultural earthquake. People could not believe that an idol who once stood on the SKE-48 stage would actually dare to cross that forbidden boundary. But Yua Mikami did not walk in with hesitation. She entered with the posture of a conqueror. Let's talk about the numbers, because whether in America or Japan, numbers never lie. Rumor has it that the remuneration for her debut film was enough to buy a luxury apartment right in the heart of Tokyo, where land prices are measured by sky-high figures. It was a record-breaking fee, dozens or even hundreds of times higher than that of any other rookie. But Yua knew that she wasn't just selling her image. She was selling the idol reputation she had painstakingly built for years. It was an all-in gamble, all or nothing. Yua Mikami executed an incredibly shrewd branding strategy that business circles would later deeply admire. She did not let the industry swallow her whole. On the contrary, she turned the studios into tools to serve her own brilliance. She brought the professionalism of a J-pop idol into every frame, from makeup and hair to the selection of costumes. Every foot of Yua's film was unlike mass-produced products. They carried the colors of luxury, shimmer, and high aesthetics. She created an illusion for the audience. They weren't just watching an adult film, they were admiring a goddess descending to earth. Success came instantly. The charts were swept clean. Discs sold out within hours. The name Momoko Kito of the past had truly died, and from the ashes of scandal, a powerful Yua Mikami rose up. But behind the million-dollar checks and the media pursuit lies a brutal reality that few see. To maintain that level of pay, to hold firm the status of queen, she had to accept a work discipline even more grueling than her time as an idol. For she understood better than anyone, in this world, if you do not move forward, you will be replaced in the blink of an eye. In the adult film industry, there is an underlying truth. Actors are usually pawns in the hands of directors. But with Yua Mikami, that script was completely flipped. Yua brought with her a formidable weapon from the J-pop world, the mindset of a perfectionist. She did not show up to the set just to follow instructions. She came to control. You will never see a single frame of Yua Mikami where her hair is messy or her makeup has faded due to sweat. She is meticulous down to the last millimeter. From the angle of the light falling on her face and the way her eyes meet the lens, to the selection of each piece of lingerie to match the setting. Yua transformed sensitive films into high-quality music videos, where aesthetics were pushed to the absolute maximum. People call it the iron discipline of an idol. In Japan, the work culture is already harsh, but Yua set a standard even higher than that. She was willing to stop a shoot for hours just to fix a single strand of hair she was unsatisfied with. She understood that in this world the body is a temple and the image is a religion. If she allowed herself to look mediocre for even a second, her crown would wobble. But perfection always comes with a very high psychological price. Imagine, for 15 consecutive hours under the heat of studio lights, Yua had to maintain a flawless appearance. She did not allow herself to be tired. She did not allow herself to be careless. That level of professionalism sometimes made those around her feel intimidated. She was not just an actress. She was the image director of her own life. The pressure to always be the best, the most beautiful, and the top seller created an invisible wall separating her from other actresses. At the peak of fame, Yua Mikami was an isolated individual. She had no time for festivities or true rest. Every moment she lived was to serve the existence of the name Yua Mikami. To her, Jav was not a final destination. It was a survival training ground. She was sharpening her skills, accumulating every yen, and building an image that could not be tarnished by anyone, including the very industry she was serving. It wasn't just filming. It was a battle to preserve dignity in an environment that inherently seeks to strip it away. If you think Yua Mikami was satisfied with just being the queen of adult films, you are completely mistaken. This girl's ambition is far greater than that. Yua didn't want to just be a star. She wanted to become an ecosystem. While at the peak of her career in Japan, Yua made a move that the media called unimaginable. She attacked the notoriously harsh K-pop market in South Korea. Despite the extreme social stigma in South Korea toward the adult industry, Yua invested her own money to establish the music group Honey Popcorn. She didn't wait for anyone to hand her an opportunity. She created her own playground. Even when facing waves of protests and high-tension press conferences, Yua stood there, proud and professional. She proved to the world that a past in the Jav industry cannot stop a talented artist longing to sing and dance on stage. But her empire did not stop at music. Yua began to penetrate the world of fashion and cosmetics. She launched her own brand named Miors. Why is this important? Because the majority of her customers are not men, but young women. They admire her style, her makeup, and her confidence. Yua succeeded in doing something few could: blurring the line between an adult film actress and a mainstream fashion icon. She transformed herself into a top KOL, key opinion leader, with millions of followers on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Each of her posts is not just a pretty picture, it is a message about financial independence and female power. In America, we would call this the style of a girl boss. Yua Mikami manages her image the way a CEO runs a multinational corporation. She understands the power of social media, knows how to navigate public opinion, and most importantly, she knows how to turn public curiosity into sustainable profit. She is no longer a pawn in the hands of agencies. Now, Yua Mikami herself is the one holding the chessboard. She proves that in the modern world, you are not defined by what you do in the bedroom, but by the values you create when you step into the light. Yua has built an empire where her name is a guarantee for success. She isn't just making films, she is rewriting the rules of the game for all women who want to reclaim control of their lives from the hands of social prejudice. It is often said that the higher you stand, the colder the wind blows. And for Yua Mikami, that peak was sometimes a gilded cage filled with solitude. Behind the glamorous outfits and the perfect smiles for the camera was a woman who had to learn to live with rejection. Do you know the feeling when you are brilliantly successful, yet your former colleagues, those who once practiced with you and shared your idle dreams, consider your name a taboo? The cold shoulder from Japan's mainstream entertainment industry was not a fatal stab, but a series of persistent, stinging cuts that lasted for years. Yua Mikami once shed tears, not from exhaustion, but from isolation. In Japan, even if you earn billions of yen, society still holds a very harsh view toward those who rose through the 18-plus industry. She lived in a world where she was the queen to millions of men, yet found it difficult to find a true friend, someone who saw her as Momoko Kito and not as an adult film star. That was the cost of the trade-off. To protect her empire, Yua had to build a steel shell. She was not allowed to be weak. She was not allowed to make mistakes. Because with just one crack, those who hated her would immediately use her past to attack her. The freedom she had longed for when leaving the idol group turned out to be a new kind of shackle, the shackle of absolute perfection. There were nights after a shoot, returning to her luxury apartment in the heart of Tokyo, where Yua faced only four walls and silence. She was more successful than anyone, but she was also lonelier than anyone. Stigma does not disappear. It only hides beneath fake praise. In America, we call this the price of fame. But for Yua, this price was even higher because it came with moral judgment. She had to sacrifice her personal life and normal relationships to maintain her throne. Yua Mikami understood that to become a legend, she had to accept that she could never live like a normal woman again. That pain she hid behind thick layers of makeup and shimmering films. But if you look deep into her eyes during those quiet moments, you will see a soul carrying the weight of an entire legacy, full of pride, yet full of scars that may never heal. March 2023. While the world was immersed in the brilliance of the cherry blossom season, Yua Mikami once again made everyone stand still. In a live broadcast, she did not bring a new project, but a farewell. At the age of 30, after nearly a decade of dominating every chart, the queen decided to step down from her throne. Why now? When she was still at the peak of her career, when each of her films was still a money-making machine, and her influence was spreading across Asia? The answer lies in the instinct of a powerful woman. Yua wanted to be the one to write the final chapter. She did not wait for her beauty to fade, nor did she wait for the audience to begin forgetting her. She left while the halo was still at its brightest. It was a move full of self-respect and pride. Yua Mikami did not retire to rest. She retired to complete her transformation from an actress into an eternal business icon. The day of Yua's retirement was considered a historical event for the Japanese entertainment industry. The final fan meetings lasted for hours, with tears flowing from Tokyo to Taipei. People realized they weren't just saying goodbye to an actress. They were saying goodbye to an era where Yua Mikami redefined the concept of what it means to be an 18-plus star. The legacy she leaves behind is a new standard for this industry. She taught the younger generations, you can start from the ashes, but if you have enough discipline, vision, and self-esteem, you can turn the whole world into your own stage. Now, no longer standing before the cameras of adult films, Yua remains an empire. She appears on the covers of prestigious fashion magazines, owns a best-selling clothing brand, and serves as a consultant for many major entertainment projects. Yua Mikami achieved the seemingly impossible. She stepped out of a sensitive industry while still keeping the crown on her head, clean and radiant. She left, leaving behind a vast void that perhaps decades later, a second person with enough courage to replace her will still not be found. It wasn't just an ending, it was a magnificent escape. Looking back at Yua Mikami's journey, we don't just see a successful actress. We see a living testament to the power of steadfastness. Yua has taught us a valuable lesson. You are not defined by the mistakes of your past, nor by the labels that society deliberately tries to impose on you. You are defined by how you rise from the ashes and how you take command of your own destiny. In a world full of judgment, Yua Mikami chose not to run away. She faced mockery with professionalism and confronted stigma with brilliant business achievements. She turned the stones thrown at her into the bricks used to build her own castle. Her story is not about a fall from grace, it is about liberation. Liberation from double standards. Liberation from the control of entertainment corporations. And liberation of a woman's voice in an industry that inherently seeks to suppress it. When the final stage lights fade out, the name Yua Mikami remains as a symbol of modern female empowerment, a person who proved that no matter where you start, you still have the right to end exactly where you choose. Thank you for joining the JAV Archive on this journey to decode the life of the uncrowned queen, Yua Mikami. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next archive profiles on the individuals who changed an entire industry. I am your voice over name, and this is the truth behind the neon lights. See you in the next films.